Hey guys, Adam here with AmericanTrucks.com, and today we're taking a quick look at and installing the Rough Country 2-inch front leveling kit for the 19 and newer Silverado 1500. You should be checking this out if you're looking to do one of three things: fit larger wheels and tires on your truck, get better ground clearance at the front end, and if you're looking to reduce some of that factory rake, getting your back end even with the front. Now this particular leveling kit is one of the more mild ones. 2 inches is not that big of a leveling kit for the front end, which is going to be perfect for guys who aren't looking for a crazy lift at the front, who just want to bring up that front just a little bit to just sort of level it out with the rear. It's not going to completely level out your truck, it's just going to reduce some of that factory rake. Now rake is there from the factory to help with towing and hauling, and a lot of guys don't really like the look of that, the back end being up so much higher. So if you're looking to reduce that, 2 inches is a good size. Also, if you're doing some light off-roading with your truck and you need just a little bit more ground clearance at the front end to help get you over some of the smaller obstacles you may have not otherwise been able to get over with a factory suspension, this is also going to be a good way to go. Finally, fitting larger wheels and tires on your truck in the past with Silverados has been pretty difficult with the square wheel wells. The newer bodies have those rounded out ones. Chevy finally heard our cries. Now with that said, fitting larger wheels and tires isn't that difficult. All you need is a leveling kit and you can bump up to 33s, and that's what we're doing here today. If you're looking to fit 35s, you will need a larger leveling kit starting at about 4 inches. So not going to be good fitment here. You will have some rubbing with 35s. With 33s will fit no problem. If you find yourself having a more aggressive mud terrain tire, or if you have a wider tire and a more aggressive offset, you may have some slight rubbing at full turn, but nonetheless, 33s will fit with a 2-inch. The kit here measures in at right around 1.5 inches in terms of physical distance, but keep in mind guys that the final lift height after changes in suspension geometry and spring compression will result in the final lift height of 2 inches. This physical spacer here is going to fit at the bottom of your factory strut. It's made from CNC machined billet aluminum and it has a red anodized finish on top. Now this particular component you won't see very well once it's on the suspension. The red anodized coating is just a little bit fancier than some of the other coatings like black or silver. So keep in mind you're not going to see very much of it, but the anodized coating is going to help with corrosion and oxidization resistance. The price tag for this kit is going to come in right around $100. Install is going to get 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. It's not extremely difficult, doesn't require any cutting or permanent modifications. It's just a little bit more involved than say a cold air intake, for example. I'll take you guys through the entire process. It'll take you about 2 hours from start to finish. What do you say we get started? Tools used in the install include an air impact gun and a cordless impact, a hammer and a ratchet, 9, 10, 15, 17, 18, and 21 millimeter deep sockets, T40 Torx bit, pry bar, 17 and 18 millimeter wrenches, 18 millimeter ratcheting wrench, and a flathead screwdriver, along with a hydraulic floor jack. All right, first step here, once you get your wheels out of the way and your vehicle supported up in the air, we're going to start removing our ABS line bracket. There's one here on the knuckle and one on the upper control arm. Grab a 10 millimeter socket and get those off. Now what I like to do is once you pop that off, I like to just put the bolt back on just so we don't lose it. Just a couple of threads, and then do the one at the top. Next up, we're going to remove our sway bar end link. Now this is a pretty difficult one. You want to have a couple of specialty tools here. Not necessarily specialty tools, but specific tools. What you want to use is an 18 millimeter wrench. Put that on the nut here on the back first. Then you're going to grab a 1/4 inch ratchet and a 9 millimeter deep socket and hold that stud on the back end. And you're going to ratchet this guy off like this instead of ratcheting the nut, just because it's a really tight space. So using the 9 millimeter on the stud itself, you can start to loosen it all the way up and remove it. All right, once you have that nut backed all the way off, pull the end link out of the sway bar, and then I'm just going to put the nut back on the stud. Next, we're going to tackle the upper control arm to the knuckle here by removing the 18 millimeter nut. I'm going to use an 18 ratcheting wrench for this. Now if it gets to the point where the entire stud is spinning, you can put this guy in there, follow it up with the appropriate size Allen key, and hold that stud steady. All right, making life easier here because this is starting to get stuck, we're going to switch over to a T40 Torx socket, and using my ratchet, we're going to hold that stud steady and ratchet this guy the rest of the way off. There you go. What I like to do is just take the nut, put it right back on the stud. Next up, switch over to a 21 deep socket and get the tie rod end off. All right, we may need to grab a hammer to knock this guy loose. Once you have that knocked loose, let's pull that guy out. And just like the other ones, I'm gonna put this nut back on. Next up, switch over to a 15 deep socket. We're gonna get the 2 bolts holding the bottom of the strut to the lower control arm off. All right, next step here, you wanna make sure that the bottom is loose. I took off our factory nuts since we'll be replacing them with new bolts. Now, it might help to loosen up some of the top nuts if you want to give yourself a little bit more flexibility there. We're going to put the spacer in the bottom just like that. What I recommend doing is using a flathead screwdriver to pry the bottom of the factory strut up just a little bit to make sure that the bolt can go straight down. Next, you're going to take a bolt and a washer, put that through. And again, it might be easier to pry this guy down. And if you need to, you can use a hammer to tap it through. Go just like that and line it up to the hole in the lower control arm. Do the same thing on the other side once threads are coming through the bottom. All right, once you have threads through the bottom, put a flat washer and a nut on the bottom and tighten them down. Grab a 17 deep socket and a wrench and tighten those 2 down. Now we can reassemble the rest of the suspension. At this point, we lowered it down. We have a floor jack underneath the lower control arm to match it up with the upper control arm. All right, so now we can pry down on the upper control arm while matching it up to the knuckle. Once you have it pried down, you put your nut back in place. Grab an 18 socket and tighten that down. All right, next we can put our tie rod end back on. Grab a 21 deep socket and tighten that down. Next, we can reconnect our sway bar end link. You may need a pry bar to help pull up on the sway bar with the other side disconnected to get it to slide in. Grab your 9 socket and your 1/4 inch ratchet along with your 18 wrench and tighten them down. Lastly, we can reconnect our ABS and brake line brackets. All right, torque down all your bolts to spec, repeat on the other side, get in alignment, and you're good to go. That's gonna wrap up my review and install for the Rough Country 2-inch front leveling kit for the 19 and newer Silverado 1500. Get yours right here at AmericanTrucks.com.